They laughed at her. They whispered behind her back. To them, she was just a soft-spoken nurse, until she picked up a gun, and silence hit the range like thunder. This isn't just a story about bullets, it's a story about asterisk judgment, surprise, and the asterisk hidden strength inside people we ignore. It was a calm Saturday morning at Fort Braxton military base. Tucked in the pine-covered hills of North Carolina the base's civilian shooting range was alive with noise, bursts of gunfire, laughter, instructions, and the metallic clink of ammunition. But it was just another weekend for the soldiers and veterans who came here to relax, compete, and relive old memories. But for Sarah Mitchell, it was something else, something personal. She had driven 2 hours from Charlotte, where she worked long, stressful shifts as a trauma nurse. Her job was to save lives, day in and day out, bloody, chaotic, life or death work. And now, she was here. She stepped out of her car quietly. No loud music, no swagger, just a woman in athletic wear. Ponytail tied tight, gym bag over one shoulder. She looked around. The parking lot was packed. Mostly military men. As she walked toward the entrance, nobody noticed her. She was just another civilian, just another beginner. Inside, the air smelled like gunpowder and coffee. Soldiers laughed with each other. Veterans chatted about gear and war stories. The firing lanes echoed with controlled gunshots, each one sharp and loud. Sarah stood in line behind a group of active duty guys from the 82nd Airborne Division. They talked loudly, showing off their sidearms, discussing tactics like pros. One of them, Staff Sergeant Mike Rodriguez, was especially loud. Built like a tank, sleeves rolled up, tattoos of his unit on his forearms. Next to him stood Lieutenant Brad Thompson. Calm but confident, cleaning his personal Glock like it was a ritual. And then there was Master Sergeant Frank Williams, older, quieter, who had brought his teenage son to teach him how to shoot. They didn't even glance at Sarah. To them, she was invisible. Reached the registration desk where a young part-time soldier, Corporal Jenkins, smiled politely. "First time here, ma'am." "Yes," she said, her voice gentle, almost shy. Rodriguez overheard and chuckled, double quotes. "Well, you picked a good day to start. We've got some real shooters here today. Might learn a thing or two." Thompson leaned in. "Start with a .22 caliber pistol. Much easier for a first-timer, trust me, the 9mm can kick pretty hard." Williams added in a fatherly tone, "Don't expect to hit bullseyes. Shooting is way harder than it looks in the movies." Sarah smiled sweetly. "Thank you all for the advice, I really appreciate it." She was polite. She was quiet, and they all assumed she was clueless, but they didn't know. This wasn't her first time holding a gun. Jenkins handed her a clipboard with the range rules and a waiver. "Before you shoot, we require a quick safety video, just 10 minutes. Of course," she said, taking a seat in the small waiting area. As the video played, Rodriguez and his group stood nearby, still talking. "I love this place," he said while loading his Glock 19. "You can always spot the civilians. They flinch, they hesitate. No grip control. Military guys. We're built different." They all laughed. Thompson added, "Remember that tech CEO last month? Thought he was John Wick. Couldn't hit a thing." Williams joined in. "Or the lawyer from Raleigh. Had a fancy gun collection, but almost dropped his pistol after the first shot." They were used to people pretending, and they thought Sarah was just another one of them. The video ended. Sarah stood up and walked back to the counter. "I'd like to rent a pistol, please." Jenkins asked, "What caliber?" "We've got begin 22s or the standard 9mm. "I'll take the Glock 17 to 9mm, she replied without hesitation. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. Bold choice. There was a brief silence. No beginner picks a Glock 17 with that kind of confidence. She filled out the paperwork, bought a box of 9mm rounds, and received her lane assignment, Lane 7, sandwiched between Rodriguez at Lane 6 and Thompson at Lane 8. Williams was in Lane 9, guiding his son. As Sarah walked toward her spot, Thompson smiled. "Need help? We're happy to coach you." "No, thank you," she said kindly. Setting down her gear, she opened the gun case, took out the Glock, inspected it like a pro, loaded 15 rounds with quick, clean movements. Nothing flashy, just precise. She moved like someone who had done this many times before, but still, no one noticed. The range officer, Sergeant First Class Davis, called out loudly, "Everyone clear on the rules. Muzzle downrange, finger off the trigger until ready to fire. No rapid fire." "Roger that." The soldiers replied in sync. Sarah didn't say a word. She simply stood in her lane. Calm, focused, breathing, steady. She loaded the magazine, chambered around, raised the Glock. No one was watching her yet, but they were about to. Sarah stood perfectly still in Lane 7. To anyone watching, she looked calm, maybe even too calm for a so-called beginner. Next to her, Rodriguez was focused on his own target. He raised his pistol and fired. Bang, bang. His shots were solid, hitting the 8 and 9 rings. Not bad for warming up. He muttered proudly. Lieutenant Thompson took his turn. Most of his bullets hit the center mass. Tight, clean shots. Feeling good today, he smiled. Williams was coaching his son in lane 9. Breathe in, hold, squeeze gently, follow through, he said, as his boy practiced his first few rounds. And in the middle of all this, Sarah raised her pistol for the very first time. Her stance didn't scream military, but it didn't look like a total beginner either. It was balanced, thoughtful, solid. She slowly aligned her sights, inhaled deeply, and pulled the trigger. Bang! Sound echoed across the range. The range officer, Sergeant Davis, looked through the spotting scope and called out, *10 ring. Dead center, Rodriguez heard it and chuckled. Nice shot. Beginner's luck. Sarah didn't say a word. She took her second shot. Bang! Another perfect 10. Now Thompson looked over, curious. 2 perfect shots. Lucky start, he whispered. Bang. Third shot to 10 ring. Bang. Fourth shot 10 ring. Bang. Fifth shot -10 ring. By now, the energy on the range had shifted. The joking stopped. The laughter faded. Rodriguez put down his gun and stared through his scope at Sarah's target. His voice was quiet. What the hell? 5 bullets. 5 perfect 10s. All grouped so tightly, they were almost forming one single hole in the center. Thompson stepped forward. That's not normal. That's professional. Even Williams stopped coaching his son. He walked over and joined the growing crowd behind lane 7. Davis leaned in for a closer look. Ma'am, this is expert-level shooting. Have you had formal training? Sarah paused. She looked at him calmly. I've had some instruction. Williams laughed softly. Some instruction? No. This isn't beginner stuff. This is military-level precision. The atmosphere at the range had changed completely. Now everyone was watching Sarah. Rodriguez stepped up beside her. You know what? I've got to see this for myself. You ready for a real challenge? Davis stepped in. Ma'am, would you like to try the 25-yard target? Sarah nodded. I'd like that. New targets were set. 25 yards. The distance, where real skills are tested, where even trained soldiers begin to struggle. Rodriguez and Thompson took their lanes beside her, ready to see what she could really do. This is where it gets interesting, Rodriguez said, trying to keep his voice light. Let's see what the nurse can do at 25. Sarah stepped up again, but this time, everything about her changed slightly. Her stance was sharper, more exact. Her breath control, perfect. She adjusted her sight with the calm of a yoga teacher, the focus of a surgeon. She aimed and fired. Bang! Davis checked the scope. *10 ring. Dead center. Now, even shooters from other lanes were peeking over. People were pausing mid-session, just to see her shoot. Bang! Second shot to 10 ring. Bang! Third shot, 10 ring. Bang! Fourth, perfect. Bang! Fifth, center mass again. Rodriguez set down his pistol completely. Okay, he said, shaking his head. I give up. Who are you really? FBI, Secret Service. Thompson was staring through his magnifier. These holes are so close together, you could cover them with a quarter. I've seen competitive shooters who can't do this. Williams turned to Sarah. Ma'am, this is beyond normal. This is something we see in sniper school. Sarah just gave a faint smile. She didn't boast, she didn't explain. She let her shots do the talking. Then the door to the range opened, and everything changed again. A tall, older man entered. He walked with a quiet authority that made every soldier in the room straighten up. Silver hair, steel gray eyes, the kind of man you could just tell had seen things others hadn't. It was Colonel Jack Morrison, the most respected marksman instructor in the Army. Even though he was retired, he still trained elite shooters and was a legend at Fort Braxton. What's going on here? He asked Davis. The sergeant replied quickly, Colonel, that civilian, she just shot 2 perfect groups. At 10 and 25 yards. Every shot, center mass. Morrison walked over to inspect the target. He stared at it in silence for a moment. This wasn't just good, this was elite, this was rare. Ma'am, Morrison said carefully, what's your name? Sarah looked him straight in the eyes. Sarah Mitchell. The name made Morrison pause. He looked confused for a second, and then his expression changed. His eyes widened, his voice dropped. Sarah, Elizabeth Mitchell. He looked at her again, studied her face, her posture. Suddenly, it clicked. Colonel Morrison kept staring at her. There was something in her posture, something about the way she stood still, confident and calm that told him. This wasn't just a nurse. He stepped closer. Sarah, Elizabeth Mitchell, he repeated, slowly. Then suddenly, his face changed. Recognition hit him like a wave. His eyes widened. His mouth parted slightly. He turned to the soldiers and said, my God. Charlie Company, 3rd Battalion. Operation Desert Shield. The entire shooting range went silent. Rodriguez whispered to Thompson, who is she? Colonel Morrison looked at Sarah, his voice filled with pride. Gentlemen, let me introduce Staff Sergeant Sarah Mitchell, former sniper of the Army's elite marksman unit, and one of the finest shooters I ever trained. In my entire career, everyone froze. The room that had once been full of noise now felt like a church. Even the loudest soldiers, the ones who had laughed earlier, stood in shock. Thompson stared. Staff Sergeant, elite sniper, Rodriguez, stepped back. No way, no way. Morrison continued, Sarah graduated from my advanced sniper course 7 years ago. She had a 98% accuracy rating, even at 1,500 meters. Only 3 students in history ever reached that level. Thompson looked like he'd seen a ghost. But, you're a nurse, he said, confused. Sarah gave a gentle smile. I am now. After I left the army, I went to nursing school. I work in the trauma unit at Charlotte General Hospital. Rodriguez, still shocked, asked, you were a sniper. With confirmed kills. Sarah lowered her eyes for a moment, then quietly answered, 47 confirmed. But I don't like to count those anymore. The men around her looked down in silence, not out of shame, but out of respect. Sarah continued, I was a soldier, but now, I'm a nurse. I'd rather save lives than take them. Morrison nodded, his voice softer now. She served 3 tours in Afghanistan. She's been on some of the toughest missions we've ever faced. But what makes her special isn't just her aim, it's her heart. Williams stepped forward. Ma'am, I owe you an apology. We judged you, we assumed. Sarah stopped him gently. No apology needed. You didn't know. And honestly, I prefer it that way. Just then, Sergeant Davis cleared his throat. Ma'am, would you be willing to shoot at our 300-yard targets? There was hesitation in the room. Nobody wanted to pressure her. Not after what they just learned. But Davis was respectful. Be honored to see what you can do. Sarah looked at Colonel Morrison, who gave a small nod. I think I'd enjoy that, she said quietly. Morrison walked over to the rifle rack and carefully selected a Remington 700 with a high-powered scope. He handed it to her with both hands, like he was handing over a sacred object. This should feel familiar, he said with a soft smile. And it did. As soon as Sarah held the rifle, her body language changed again. Gone was the quiet nurse. In her place stood the sniper, steady, alert, unshakable, even without words. The entire room felt it. Sarah knelt at the firing station. She lay down in the prone position, smooth and practiced. She adjusted her scope, checked the trigger, and reviewed the ballistics data. Wind looked stable, she whispered mostly to herself. She took her time, no rushing, no nerves. And then, bang! Sergeant Davis looked through the spotting scope. Asterisk, dead center, 300 yards, center mass. Asterisk, silence. Then, applause. Real, heartfelt, spontaneous clapping broke out across the range. Morrison smiled. Again, Sarah chambered another round. Less preparation this time. She already knew what she needed. Asterisk, bang. Asterisk, Davis called out. This one touched the first hole. Nearly same spot. Rodriguez's mouth hung open. I've been in the army. Asterisk, 12 years. And I've asterisk, never seen asterisk shooting like this. Thompson added, and she did it with a asterisk rifle she's never used before. On a asterisk range. She's never visited asterisk. Sarah stood, calmly handed the rifle back, and said, muscle memory. Some things you never forget. The applause at the shooting range finally faded, but the respect in the air stayed. Sarah Mitchell stood tall, not proud, not boastful, just peaceful. Colonel Morrison looked at her and said softly, Sarah, you're still the best natural shooter I've ever trained. But more than that, you've become something even more powerful, a healer. Sarah smiled gently. Thank you, Colonel. That means everything coming from you. She began packing up her gear, slowly and quietly. But before she could leave, one by one, the soldiers came forward. Rodriguez, the loudest at first, now spoke with calm respect. Ma'am, it's been an honor. Thank you for your service. Thompson added, I'm sorry we underestimated you. You're incredible. Even Williams brought his son over. Danny, he said, I want you to meet a real hero. Sarah knelt to meet the boy's eyes. You can just call me Sarah, she said kindly. And remember this asterisk. Being a hero isn't about how well you shoot, it's about what you do to help people. As the afternoon sun began to fade outside, the mood in the range was completely different now. What started as a normal day had turned into a memory these soldiers would never forget. Colonel Morrison stepped beside Sarah one more time. Can I ask you something? He said. Why don't you tell people who you are? You have every right to be proud. Sarah paused. She looked around at the faces watching her, then answered. Because, Colonel, I learned something important after leaving the army. Asterisk, the most powerful thing about having deadly skills is choosing not to use them, she continued. Every day at the hospital, I use what the army taught me, discipline, focus, pressure, control, but not to take lives, to save them, and honestly, that's the most accurate shot I can take. Morrison nodded slowly, eyes misty. That's why you were always my best student. You knew that true strength isn't what you destroy, it's what you protect. Sarah looked at him with warmth. You didn't just teach me how to shoot, Colonel. You taught me that every shot has consequences, and that the greatest victory is the one you never have to fight. Sergeant Davis approached with a clipboard. Ma'am, I've logged today's score. It's going in the record books. Would you sign it? Sarah took the pen and wrote her name. Underneath it, she added, greater than asterisk, in memory of those who can't come home, and in honor of those who still can. Asterisk. As she walked to the exit, someone called out behind her. Sarah, one more question. Rodriguez asked. With skills like yours, why nursing? You could have done anything. Sarah paused at the door. She looked back one last time. Smiling softly, she said, because every trigger I don't pull is a life I might save instead. And that is the most accurate shot I can ever take. She stepped out into the warm Carolina sunshine. Behind her, soldiers stood in quiet admiration. They would never forget the day they met a calm, quiet nurse who reminded them of a powerful truth. Greater than asterisk, asterisk, the most dangerous people in the world are often the most peaceful. Asterisk, asterisk, greater than, because they know the true cost of violence, and they choose mercy instead. Back at Charlotte General Hospital, on Monday morning, Sarah clocked in for her shift. No one there knew what had happened over the weekend. To them, she was just Nurse Mitchell, focused, kind, and always calm in a crisis. But deep down, Sarah carried her past with quiet grace. She had learned the hardest lesson of all. Greater than asterisk, asterisk, the most important target in life is the one you choose not to engage. Asterisk, asterisk.